Hey guys, welcome back to Big Shoulders, the Chicago podcast. Today, I've got a good friend of mine. It's a real treat for me. Chicago's very own Shavar Clark is going to be reviewing what I can only describe as maybe the best show on television, FX Hulu's The Bear. We have wrapped watching the 2 seasons that are available as of this recording, and yeah, man, I know I'm probably going to be accused of being biased on this one because it is a Chicago-based show written by actual guys from Chicago. But if it wasn't good, I wouldn't say it was good. I'm not one of those guys that, Chicago coverage at any cost. I'm not going to praise something if I don't think it's good. And if season 2 was any indication, it would seem that everybody and their mother is trying to get on this show because it's so damn good. The stature of guest stars in season 2, unbelievable. But yeah, man, I had finished this series a little bit before you, and I'm really keen to get your take. You being a lifelong Chicago guy, but also an actor, an artist, comedian in your own right. So what'd you think, man? What'd you think of The Bear?
I mean, you know what? Having so many extra celebrity cameos on just the second season of a show is, I think it's a good sign. I think.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like you said. Like, who doesn't want to be a part of this show right now? Right now, it is white hot, and the way everything shaped up toward the end, it became like they were playing. Well, they probably weren't trying to play it for laughs the first season, but there was a bit more comedy there. This time, no, it was none of that. Things were going to shit. Things were going on the wayside, and it definitely ended that way. So yeah, that's what a drama is. You have your highs and your lows, and I think it displayed it properly.
Yeah, it's interesting. And we'll break for those people that haven't seen it. We'll break down the premise of the show in a second here, but you bring up a really good point because it's billed as a comedy drama series, or what they call a dramedy. It won awards in the comedy category, but it's not really a sitcom. It's not Parks and Recreation. It's not Abbott Elementary. It's not a lot of these types of shows, and it's mostly, I would say it's mostly dramatic than it is comedic. They pepper in the comedy because and that kind of makes it more authentic. In life isn't usually just one note. Life can be very heavy, punctuated by light, happy moments, or very happy and punctuated by heavier, darker moments. And so a part of why this show is so well done and so good is because it feels more real on how they pepper in the comedy. So I would say it's more of a drama with a bit of comedy, or a dramedy, as opposed to a comedic drama, if that makes sense. But for those that don't know,
go ahead. This is not a show that was built straight up for laughs.
Right.
I think it was all built to be written in a certain way. And if you can see the humor in it, fine. If not, then as long as you still understand it, then it's great. But you know how people are, man. Different people see the humor in different things. So
absolutely.
If you're able to see it, if you're able to catch those little tiny sprinkles of humor, then it just makes the show more rich for you.
Yeah, it feels way more real because, I mean, if it's one thing that I do know about Chicagoans, across community, across so many different demographic lines, there's we are a town, we're a big city, but we have a sense of humor. I mean, we are the home of Second City. We are the home of we're the mecca of improv. So without a doubt, we have a sense of humor. For those that haven't seen the show, there will be spoilers ahead, but basically the premise of the show is Jeremy Allen White, who plays Carmy, basically is called home from having worked in a really high-end restaurant in New York with a toxic culture. He gets called home to Chicago to take over his brother's Italian beef business because his brother has committed suicide. So, man, we're off to the laughs immediately, as you can tell, and it's basically him trying to get his brother's business back in shape. He's underwater with bills. It's all this sort of stuff. The business is failing. He's got to go in and kind of earn the respect of the people that have worked there, which is difficult. And it's a really fun. Like, we've got that big problem at the forefront. We have all sort of the characters that work there. Then we've got Carmi and his family members that are dealing with the loss of their brother. And what's great is the family and the crew at the beef shop are all characters. And what's great is none of them are caricatures of people. They really, especially Tina, the Puerto Rican lady who works there, she feels so Chicago. Like, I've worked with Tina. I know Tina, and these other folks. And so, again, if you're a Chicago person who hasn't watched this show, shame on you, because this is one of the realest Chicago shows. I'm next to like The Bear, The Chi, and the Blues Brothers. Like, I don't know what gets more Chicago than those three productions. And what's great too is over the course of the show, I like how everybody has this great arc. There's no throwaway characters. You see Carmi grow. You see Sydney, who's his sort of like his sous chef. You watch her grow. You watch Marcus, who is the amateur baker. You watch him grow. You watch the cousin, played by Iban. Where's he at? Iban Mas Bachrach. Richie, cousin Richie, Bachrach. Cousin Richie has this great arc. Nobody kind of gets left behind, and I feel like that's rare in a drama. Like, it's like usually like, somebody has a terminal disease by now, or somebody's cheating on somebody, and this show doesn't have that, but I'm still compelled. I don't know.
So I think that's really the character growth that you were talking about. That's like a big part of what season 2 was.
Yes.
It was just a surprise to see it done with everybody. Like, usually it's done with like the main character. No, it was like the main 2 or 3, and then the supporting cast. Everybody had their own growth arc.
Right.
I wasn't expecting it, to be quite honest, but it was all, everybody basically had their own episode. An hour is a good amount of time to show like some sort of backstory, to show the why and the drive of like some of these characters, and not just that, but to show them actually improving. They're going to need to, because this place sucks right now. Like, the moment this place reopens and they don't have their shit together, they're dead in the water. So it was, every episode was just showing why it was. Well, no, it wasn't showing why it was important. We know why it's important, but we were seeing like them actually growing, instead of like sitting and watching the grass grow, all boring and shit like that, and wondering, wait, how did the grass get so tall? I mean, I haven't looked at it in 2-3 weeks. How did it get so high? No, we see why. We see what it takes, and the rigors of what people in that business have to go through to get right. And even then, it can still fail. Like, you saw, oh no, the sous chef's name,
Sydney.
Yeah. She was walking by one of the restaurants where she was trying to get like inspiration from. It was shut down.
Yeah.
Like, remember that? So it was like, man, like, if this doesn't work, like, we just saw this restaurant like 3 episodes ago and it's dead. And it's like that. Yes, it's like that.
That's one of the things I really love about this show is people don't realize 50% of all restaurants fail within the first 4 years. It is one of the toughest businesses, because the profit margins are so small. It's one of those things. People think that, you really have to be charging a lot and really be filling the place up to turn a profit as a restaurant. And sometimes it takes years to do so. And that scene especially, she walks past that place that was just open and it's gone. And that's really how it works. Like, people think that, business in general is difficult. Try doing a restaurant. Try giving consistent quality food over time. and there's so many things to manage. I worked for Kendall College for a period of time in the Culinary and Hospitality School in Chicago, and so I saw up front what it takes to just to get one person's meal on a table. We totally take it for granted, the amount of money it costs just for your water bill. Just for your water can be up to six figures. It's wild. So yeah, the realism of it I love. To your point, season one sets up a lot, and you have the main character Carmi, and you have what it seems like everyone around him is kind of a supporting character. Then you get to season two, and it's like here's Carmi, and here's everybody else, and they're leveled up. So everybody's equally important. A whole characters get entire episodes, and you realize, oh yeah, that's right, because one person does not make a restaurant, and Carmi by himself can't possibly turn this thing around and elevate it to where they're trying to bring it. It's not just Italian beef by season two. It's something even bigger. Again, if you don't want spoilers, pause now and go watch the show. But yeah, I kept expecting the cousin to pull a fast one because they were indebted to the cousin from season one to basically get an infusion of cash to keep the beef restaurant going. Then they pitch him about the higher end restaurant that they want it to become. They're really over leveraged to the cousin. And Oliver Platt, Uncle Jimmy is his character. And that never happened. Like the turns that most shows I think probably would take in a negative respect with regards to the characters, not negative isn't a bad show, never really occurs. Like nobody ever really screws anybody over. It's everybody's just trying to get through life. Everybody's just trying to get through their day. And I really, really like that. And seeing even characters like, Cousin Richie, who in the beginning of season one, he doesn't even really work there. He was just Michael's friend who just sort of hung around and did stuff for him. And this guy doesn't want to evolve. He doesn't want to do more. And then you get to season two, and this guy just goes. He rises to the occasion. And I was not expecting that from this show. I was not expecting that literally they just bring everybody up. Everybody learns, everybody grows, everybody gets better. And that's really refreshing. I can't remember the last show that did that.
I think Cousins, might have been my favorite glow up. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the beginning, you see that the whole. I think what he really wanted to do was really have control over how the shop ran.
Right.
If that makes any sense. Like when he was talking about the whole, look, everything has an ecosystem, that kind of thing. Well, now he was forced to see and go into that fine dining restaurant what the ecosystem really meant. It was like we kind of knew what he meant. Anybody that's in that environment, you know what he's talking about, but he didn't have the skills to run it that way. Right. Now he totally fucking does.
Right.
He's given the floor, he's given the charge of just, all right, Richie, go. And it's on. That was bad. That was
he's a boss level now, and it was so cool because you're right. In that first season, he's really resisting a lot, and it's like you can kind of feel like this is one of the things that he truly has in his life. He doesn't have a lot, and it's right. So you understand the fear. It's like, okay, now I'm losing this. This is the last thing I had. I can't. I'm going to fight this because I don't want things to change. It's the only thing I have left in my life. And then we see the change, and he does it, and he wins, and so he's proven right, like you said, per understanding the ecosystem. But he just lacked a little bit of confidence and certain skills, and once he got those things, I mean, he's a boss now. That was really, you're right. That was probably the best glow up in the show. Because I didn't expect it. You meet this guy in the beginning, you're like, nope, this guy's going to be a problem.
Right. Everybody else, like comparatively, had some use in the kitchen. and then you have this guy who, I mean, you hate to really say it like that, but
Right.
like, man, what was he doing there? What exactly was he doing there? What was he being paid for? He was a
Yeah.
waste. And then he
Right.
could turn that shit right around. Just having the whole crisis that his character has, and not even knowing if he himself felt that dilemma. Like, damn,
Sure. Yeah,
what am I doing?
you saw him fighting himself. Again, a testament to the
Right.
writing and the acting and the directing in the show is you watch the wheels turning and you saw him coming face to face with himself and having to make the decision of like, okay, if I don't do anything, I just lose because this place is going to change whether I like it or not. So I got to make the
Mm-hmm.
decision: do I change with it? I got to take a chance and see what happens. And yeah, he doesn't shrink from the challenge and he wins. And it's really cool to see that. I feel like there's the way usually to get critical acclaim. I feel like on these type of shows, not that there is any type of show like The Bear, is usually to just sort of compound tragedy, compound bad news, compound bad luck on your characters. And this is the total reverse. It's like, no, this is what happens when people rise to the occasion. This is when people say, fuck it, I'm going to try. I've got nothing else. I literally have nothing to lose. I'm going to try. And you see these people winning, which I really love. The biggest surprise of second season was Christmas. Whoa, whoa! Christmas at the Brusados. I don't think I've ever seen my family put on camera like that before. With the borderline mother and the alcoholic cousin and the busybody niece or whatever. It felt so real and it was so uncomfortable. Jamie Lee Curtis, if she doesn't get an Emmy for that, I don't know what you would give out Emmys for, because Jamie Lee Curtis, again, great cameo, shows up as the mom in the show,
Right.
and it
At
is
least get some sort of Emmy nomination, like some sort of award mention. It
something.
probably won't be Emmy, but she might need to be on a few more episodes for that. But
Yeah, because
yeah,
she
I
was on
definitely agree.
twice. She was obviously in the full Christmas episode, and then she shows up
Yeah.
later in a cameo. But goddamn, like you want to see a veteran actor absolutely show a masterclass in performance. It's Jamie Lee Curtis as mom in the Christmas at the Brusados episode, which is so multi-layered. You get all of this background finally on this family that Carmi comes from, and the family I believe it's Michael who killed himself, where he comes from. You get all of this, like, oh, okay, yeah, some families have problems, and
Yeah.
but it was so beautifully done, and again, just I'm blown away at so many A-listers and so many legends. Olivia Colman of The Crown and Oscar nominations and wins shows up in this series in really just sort of a cameo spot. The magnitude of heavy hitter actors that show up for this second season, for me personally, was like, wow. And this is a Chicago-based show. We don't usually get that. We have our Chicago shows. We have our procedurals that are all great, but we don't tend to get critically acclaimed, industry acclaimed shows that then lure in people of the A-list to come. Yeah, I'll do a cameo in your show, and I'm glad that it's a Chicago show made by Chicago folks that have basically pulled the attention of the entire world towards Chicago. Because we don't do as good a job. We're not like LA and New York do a really good job at telling the world how awesome they are and how great they are. And then that's not a knock on either city, because I love LA and I love New York. But Chicago, we've always sort of been more inward facing, right? We do our thing. We could really give a fuck about what anyone thinks of us. We do our own thing. We build our own culture. But it feels like in the last 5 or 6 years, between food influencers, history influencers, just general influencers coming off of YouTube and Instagram, and now a show like The Bear. Chicago is getting a shine that it never got before. We used to be so subject to the media really just only talking about bad news when it came to Chicago. And social media and these platforms have really allowed us to get the real story out. And now on top of that, we've got this incredible TV show that showcases a really accurate Chicago, a Chicago of real hardworking people. You know, the old saying, Chicago works, of blue collar folks that go to work and they build lives and they build the world. And I'm so glad we have it. I hope this show goes several more seasons, man.
I think we talked about it the last time you had me on the show, which, if I haven't said already, thank you again for having me.
Oh, sure.
We had talked about the type of publicity that Chicago as an entertainment industry city was getting, like, because of this show. And because of those cameos, like, I mean, it may or may not be an indicating factor, but it sure as hell is a good look. Like, if nothing else, like, just having all these stars and no one realized it come in and shoot what they needed to shoot. And to your point about influencers, like, I haven't seen, like, if you go on Instagram or TikTok, like, these past, really, like, since the year started, like, I've never seen so many short videos on what things to do, like, in Chicago, specifically about food. Like, I didn't even know we had some of these places, like, as they started showing, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna go there. That short rib was looking kind of, like, you know what I mean? You start looking at it in a new light. Like, I did not know we had those streets. Where is this? Where is this?
There's a whole. Well, and I think you're absolutely right about the food thing, because if outside of sports, our other religion in Chicago is food, and we are one of the best food cities in the world. I'll die on that hill. I've never met anybody who came to Chicago, and they've come around with us and eaten and been like, but that was really disappointing. Never. Whether it be steakhouses, whether it be the Italian beef, the Chicago style, whether it be our street food, our Chicago food, or it being elevated, elevated fare like Alinea or other places like that. This incredible, like, every time when I bring family into Chicago, it's a mix of, okay, we're going to go to Byron's, we're going to Uncle Remus, we're going to Greektown, we're going to Al's Beef, but then we're going to go to Tango Sur, the Argentine steakhouse. We're going to go to Lashett's Inn for German. We're going to go to Kasama, which Kasama is the only Michelin star rated Filipino restaurant in the world, and it is in Chicago. So there's so much that we have to offer, and like, what pulls people in, and the best way, I think, to share your culture really is through food. Whether you're from Ecuador or you're from China or you're from Chicago, the best way to share your culture and to get to know people is to share your food. And so we pull them in with the food, but we've got Sherman Dilla Thomas, who is the Southside, Chicago historian, who is absolutely crushing it right now. He's got his Southside tours, his Inglewood tours. We've got 77 Flavors of Chicago that have been going strong for several years now. It's a Chicago History Pod. We've got food influencers like Adam Witt and it's Adam Witt.
Williams, yeah. No, I'm sorry. No, you were right.
So we've got there's so much that goes on there. On top of having world-class theater, we're a theater town. We're a theater town. We have Second City. We've got great stand-up. Our stand-up scene, Chicago, if anything, definitely has a sense of humor. So if you're a comedian and you're starting out, Chicago supports. We support great comics. We don't really have a whole lot of, sensitivities about stuff like that. But yeah, man, it's really, and the architecture, like, there are so many architectural tours that are on YouTube. Like, if you type in just walking tour Chicago, And it's literally architects going downtown, and then this building was built here by that person. So we've got art, we've got culture, we've got architecture, we've got food. And I feel like Chicago is almost it's kind of like the last discovery of America. People have always known about New York, people have always known about LA, but they haven't always known about Chicago. And that's partly because we've kind of kept to ourselves. And I love us kind of flexing a little bit, just showing people what we're about. And because we've got a lot to brag about, man.
I think on the one hand, yeah, like we haven't really put ourselves out there like that. The only news that we've gotten, or the only news that has been projected about the city of Chicago has been bad news, right?
Right.
But I think part of that is also because, like every time I go to like a smaller town, somewhere in Illinois or maybe in another state, like there's this thing where, because not to really put down any other towns, but a lot of people out there see Chicago and that's it, like in the state of Illinois. So there's this sort of, they think that the people of Chicago is like stuck up because of that, because it's like the city to go to in the state. You know what I'm saying? So people are a lot more reticent to come in and see us because they think, oh, big city, we're not gonna.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I would invite all of those people to visit other major American cities and then go back to Chicago to see just how not stuck up we are in Chicago.
I've said that too. Like
no disrespect. Again, I bounce back and forth between the west side of Chicago and LA, and there are many kinds of LA, and I love LA, but Chicago is still friendlier. Like, this is the thing. What I would tell people who feel maybe not too charitable towards Chicago is, yes, Chicago is a big, sort of muscular, strong, busy metropolitan city. It is, but it's still in the Midwest. And I think that's where our level of friendliness comes from. One of the things that I do love about Chicago is, for example, when I brought my nephews from Northern California that have never been to Chicago, they were a little bit further ahead of me. I had to take a call. So they went into, I think they were getting onto like the purple or brown line L stop. And so I wasn't with them. I was going to show them how to get their CTA cards, because I don't let anybody drive or get an Uber when we're there. I'm like, we're walking, we're taking the train, or we're taking the bus. We're not driving, we're not Ubering. And so they ended up going in there, and I'm taking the call. And then I finish my call, I go in there, and there's this beautiful lady. Her name was Joyce. She lived on the south side of Chicago. She lived in Bronzeville. She happened to be working that day, and she helped my two California nephews get their card, and she got the maps, and she showed them how to read them. Like, it was just, again, you don't get that in every major American city. And so I would remind
your nephews are probably like, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, they were really like, wow, is everyone like this? I said, you'll get more of that here than say other places. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but I've never seen that happen in certain other major American cities, but I have watched it happen time and time again in Chicago. And
definitely not to the same degree. I've never been to New York. I have been to LA a number of times though, and it's not the same. You don't get it to that same degree.
And here's the thing: I not that I'm dumping on LA. I love LA, but I really love East LA. I love the East Side. I love the Chicanos, and the working class Latins are some of the nicest people. When I got to LA, I had, every possible motherfucking thing that could have gone wrong on my way into this town. It was like it's like you were writing a comedy. Like, this can't possibly be real. Every single one of those things went wrong. And I was in trouble of losing my apartment because I didn't have the rent. And one weekend I just went out and Ubered, and I single-handedly made my rent just by driving Dodger fans to Dodger Stadium back and forth, and taking people around East LA, Boyle Heights, these great neighborhoods that also people will talk negatively about. So I had an immediate connection with these places because being from Chicago, you're always on the offense. You always have to be defending your city because most people don't take the time. You got people from the suburbs who have never been to the city or don't spend any time in the city, but think they know everything about it. And it's not much different in LA. If somebody who's not from the east side of LA, you're going to assume it's a certain way when it's not. And so I bonded right there. But no, you're right. There's Chicago has a certain heart to it that is very unique to a major city. And bringing it back to the Bear, that's really one of the things I love about that show, because that's there. It's not a room full of writers in LA writing what they think Chicago is. It's two showrunners born and raised Chicago with a team of writers that either are from Chicago, have spent time there, or have really done their research, writing a real show about what feels completely authentic Chicago. And I really, really appreciate that. Not to knock on any other shows, but it is refreshing to see us as something other than cops and firefighters just once,
And that's not fair. They're long-standing shows. They're successful shows.
No. And I'm not dumping on those shows. I would kill to get on those shows. Because here's the thing, confession, those shows are guilty pleasures of mine. I love those shows. I have no problem with us being cops, firefighters, or EMTs, because we are. But it's nice to see an expansion of what Chicago is, just because I feel we haven't gotten as many shots in the form of TV shows like New York or LA have. There's more demographic ground covered for those cities in media than in Chicago. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm trying to think of the shows before the Dick Wolf show series, like PD,
whether it's Chicago Code,
Ned. Like
Chicago
I'm trying to think of before that, like what was there? That was Chicago based. There was Chicago Code, but that was a cop show basically. There was Boss, Kelsey Grammer, but it was still
that was so good. It only went 2 seasons. That show was so good. I was so mad when they canceled it. Man, that was good. Really good.
I'll tell you why later. I have info on why that was. I'll tell you why later.
Okay, but, I would love to know, man. Dude,
pretty fucking stupid, I think. But
okay, well, I mean, that's the business, though. It's a tough one. But Empire, we have Empire. So that's arts related. Shameless, which Shameless was a fun show. There were times though that I'm like, nobody's that stupid. I mean, I'm like, oh, maybe. Like, I think that the if I have a criticism of Shameless, the only criticism really is that it kind of fed stereotypes of the South Side that aren't quite fair. Like, I mean, I suppose there's a little bit of truth in all stereotypes, but I don't know. It got to be a little heavy-handed after a while. I'm like, look, I know South Side Irish. They're not all like this. Can we have somebody who holds a job? Can we have somebody that has their shit together? So there's that. But dude,
I want to be able to say that I had more commentary on Shameless. I didn't watch Shameless like that though.
Yeah, I watched all of it. I enjoyed it. I wanted to support a Chicago show. It's really good. I love that whole cast. I love William H. Macy. But something else, I did a quick search.
Did Jeremy come out of it?
What's that?
Jeremy Allen White came out of it, right?
Yes, he did. He was. I literally I ended up watching the first episode after I watched the 2 seasons of The Bear, and I forgot he was just a kid when that started. he was like a kid. So that show was on for 12 years. So it's like, yeah, if they get you as like a teenager, yeah,
Wow.
12, 11 or 12 seasons, man. It went a long time, which is a long time for even a premium cable show. You just don't really, that's the 12 seasons. That's like a network show, that type of
Yeah.
longevity. It's rare for a cable show, a premium show to go that long. But I did a quick search here, man. So obviously we have the one Chicago shows, Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med. We've got the Bear.
Yeah.
We had Empire. We had Chicago Code. We have the Shy still going. The new season drops soon. I can't wait. But we had Boss, which sadly 2 seasons, but was fantastic. We also have an absolute classic of 90s television, Family Matters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I completely forgot that was Chicago based.
But because it didn't really come up like that. Like, we knew it was in Chicago, but it didn't really.
I totally forgot.
It was them and like, because I thought we were talking about like modern shows, but yeah, it was them and Perfect Strangers. But you didn't really see it though. Like, you didn't really
no, that's
like
true. No, it's not like there were location shoots, because it was a sitcom that was filmed most likely on a stage somewhere in Burbank, California. But no, that's true. Chicago Hope was a show that went on for, I feel like, a good while. Man, that was
What'd you say again? Chicago what?
Chicago Hope, about the hospital, Chicago Hope. And then a classic, Norman Lear, Good Times.
Okay.
So yeah, but again, this list is probably, well, there's According to Jim, the Bob Newhart show. Some of these shows, I don't know how many people remember, but this is probably a fraction of the stuff that New York and LA get. And again, not like it showcases those cities per se, but I guess, long story long, I guess what I'm trying to say. Go ahead. What?
Sorry. Yeah, but before anybody comes up in the comment of watching your video and say, "You forgot this," Married with Children. Before somebody comes and says, "Oh, you forgot about Al Bundy." No, we didn't. We just said it. There we
That's
go.
right. That was a show everybody watched when I was growing up. It was on Sunday nights on Fox. It was one of the early Fox shows. That was another one that was on, almost a decade. Yeah, that show did really well. Yeah, it's maybe not like
for a number of times. Yeah,
maybe not the ideal portrayal of Chicagoans, but we all knew guys. We all knew guys like Al, right?
Now, I just didn't want anybody coming up in your comments. Hey, man, if you're gonna go and you're gonna say these Chicago shows, don't forget about No Man, man. Don't forget about Al, man. I don't want that for you.
No, I appreciate that. And if there's current Chicago shows, movies, content that we're not aware of, please comment below. Tell us how much we suck because we didn't do our research. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, like, share. Look at, please do. But yeah, it's as someone who's watched the Coasts have a lot of their stories told on a more consistent basis, I just appreciate the fact that Chicago is now entering into this sort of new phase where we're finally looking outward, and we're finally, we're happy to introduce ourselves to the world and show people just how dope we are. Like Dilla says, it's like, everything dope about America comes from Chicago, and he proves that shit with history, which is great. We got to get him on. That would be fun.
Shout out to everybody's favorite Southside historian, Dilla.
Yeah, no, that guy does great work. It's follow him on Instagram. He's a great one. He does everything from history to culture to food, but he's primarily a historian. But the stuff I didn't know about Chicago that I now know because of him, like, that guy's just incredible. But trying to think, what were some of the, well, I'm trying to think. There's so much going on with the Bear in the show. Like that ending. Like I don't really want to spoil the ending, but I was so frustrated by the ending. And I guess they kind of have to. I don't mean it was bad. I'm not criticizing it. We're meant to, as a
No,
viewer, you're meant to watch this finale and be like, "What?" You know. So in a good way, and they're shooting season 3 already. Um, but I do kind of wonder where things are going to go. I have my wish list. I feel I want to continue to see cousin Richie grow. I want to continue to see Tina growing. Um, I really want to see Carmi and Sid seal the deal. I really do.
do you?
I
Do
think
you
those two should
really?
be together.
I
I
mean,
mean, they're probably going to tease us for 4 more seasons, assuming this show goes 4 more seasons. But I feel like, come on, if like I know that she was seeing someone, right, and he was seeing someone, but it's like, okay, their lives revolve around the restaurant. Their lives revolve around food and food preparation. I'm like, you guys are like the perfect pair because you'd be together. If you're with somebody who's not in the industry, they're just not going to see you very much. Whereas both of you are industry. That seems like it would be perfect. I don't know. What are your thoughts, man?
I mean, it seems that way, man. But like, they get on each other's nerves too much, man. I mean, and you would probably think like some people would see like, oh, that's chemistry brewing. You don't see that? Well, not right now, no,
Right.
because it like Carmine is still working through like whatever neurosis he has, like
Right.
as far as like, and we saw why with the family, like
Right.
a lot of where that shit came from, and then the restaurant in the East Side compounding onto that. But yeah, man, he has his flare ups, and then she seems to be one of the only ones that can like, hey, like calm him down. You know what I mean? But that's because of her sometimes. Like it's like he's trying to get a point across, and she kind of counters that point in an unfavorable way, and then he just kind of blows up. That kind of thing in like in a relationship setting, oh man. And then I gotta come back, I gotta work with this person the next day. God damn it. Okay, fine,
But I
fine,
mean, you have
fine.
to admit, I mean, it does make for great television, and I feel like if they that push and pull, that sort of that sexual tension that they could build from their, because they both are very headstrong. They're both go getters and ambitious. They're both visionaries. They're both artists in their own right. And so, yeah, there's going to be locking of horns and they're going to be bumping up against one another. But they each are able to see in each other. Like, no one can relate to them quite as well as they can relate to each other because they're both chefs, because they know what it's like to have the entire weight of something on your shoulder and having nobody else understand that. So again, they don't have to do it right away, but I'd like to see them start planting those seeds in season 3. Uh, they can do a whole moonlighting Sybil Shepherd, Bruce Willis thing and not culminate it until the very end. I don't care, but I feel like I'm looking at it. I'm like, you, these two have to be together. This would be a huge missed opportunity if we didn't. But
I
at
think
the
it's
same
very
time,
easy to look at that from like things that have happened in the past, but you might have people that might look at it and go like, fucking of course. Like, yeah, here we go again. Yeah.
but now I'm going to
Yeah.
contradict myself. At the same time, I really like Marcus, our man, our Baker man.
Shot
And
his shot and then got shot down. And then how that came up, like in word as tempers were starting to flare, like
right,
He's trying to get Sid's attention.
right,
Sid is preoccupied with stuff, right?
right.
Well, you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, that the
Yeah,
way that blew up, I was like, ooh, shit, that
but I
shit.
could, I could still see. Like, I guess that's the other one. Like, or maybe we get like a love triangle between, you got Sid in the middle, and you got Carmi, and you got Marcus over. I just feel like there's a lot of potential there. Like, again, getting shot down is one thing, but I don't know. I still think that there's so much they could do there. Um, I really like Oliver Platt as Uncle Jimmy. He really is that sort of like sort of, what would you call them? They're like blue collar sages. They're. I mean, he really is in a lot of ways. He is sort of Cicero in so many ways. He's smart, but he's smart in a streetwise business way. That's another one that, like, those guys exist by the thousands in Chicago.
Yes. Yeah, like I love you to death, but
yeah, and
I'll take this shit if you fuck
right.
like you know
I could a guy like him, like if they were to do a spin-off show, I'd do it with him. I feel like that would work. I'd love to see. I want to see more from Tina too. Like, I don't know if it's just me feeling Tina feels very maternal to me. Like I said, growing up in Chicago and working with women like her, or like she reminds me of friends of mine's moms, where like you just like she wouldn't just hit your friend, she'd hit you if you if you ended up. Like, she had, she had it ready to go. Like,
I'm sorry.
she could.
Sorry. And she hits you anyway. Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. Like she would. You would expect her. Like, I remember being disciplined by other people's parents at certain points, but like, I don't know. But it's, realizing, of course, it's because they care. And so I don't know. I feel this really strong connection to Tina, and I want more of her too, man.
You said one more? Oh, like one more
episode? I just want more of her character. I want to see more explored in her life and her wants. Like, I love seeing her go from, she's so defensive in the beginning because it's like, look, this is our space. Who the hell are you to come in? And then she sort of softens a little bit. And then you see her really sort of get acclimated, and, then she has her glow up and she has her growth and her arc. I want to see more for her. Yeah, I want to see more.
I think we got to see her spiral a little bit. I think we got to see her take some kind of hit. Maybe her son gets shot or something like that because he's being a knucklehead.
Right. Something's gonna happen.
Because she had, like, you saw the personality that she had. Like, you ain't gonna tell me what to do. But then she accepts the change and then grows along with it. Goes to the culinary school, trains up more, and now she's content. She's happy. She's in a great space right now. What happens when that's taken away?
Right.
Something that's that. I think that'll even build her a little bit more. I think to see her. It sounds bad, but to see her suffer a little bit.
Yeah, I don't want to see her suffer. I'd like to see. I mean, if it were me, like if I had my brothers, I want to like write some romance into her life. Like, there's got to be, like, I feel like there's additional characters we could kind of bring in to keep things interesting. Per what's going on within the restaurant. Yeah, I mean, I could talk all day on it. But
yeah, like I would bring in the romance after that. Like after she overcame the suffering that I was talking about. Because at that point, she's fucking been through a lot. Yeah. She's been through a lot. Like all that, and then she finds love in her life. That's a happy ending to me, I think.
Yes.
So that to me anyway. Like that would be interesting. Or maybe she might find love first. Like, to your point. And maybe that'll be what happens that like makes her suffer a little bit. We don't know. It's just the characters are set up in such a way to where you as a viewer, you're like, damn, what if that happens? What if that happens? And then it just seems right because they're so damn well written, excuse me. They just it's a good combination all around.
I can't remember the last time I was this invested in characters on TV. Like, literally just spending extra time wondering, okay, they could do this with her and this with him. She should connect with him. Like, I can't remember the last time I cared that deeply about a show. But clearly, I'm not the only one. To wrap it up, this is something I thought about too. Is I feel a show like this that's so critically acclaimed, that's so well done, that's doing so great. I feel like the pressure's on for every season. I think these folks are going to do just fine because they've knocked 2 seasons out of the park. I think they're going to continue to do so. The question is, do you do a shorter number of seasons just to ensure? Because I feel like there's something to the old adage, leave them wanting more. And I know that a lot of streaming services, like, they'll do 3, but no more than maybe 4 seasons. But 3 seems to be I don't want this season to be the last one. I I want more. I want as many seasons as they can give us that they want to do, can do well. Because quality is always better than quantity. But I feel
Yeah.
like this is the kind of show that could go a while. But I could understand if they just did 2 more seasons and cut it and just sort of left it as this sort of like this beautiful, what it already is, this little masterpiece. Um, what are your thoughts on that? Like, should we cut it at 3? Should we push it all the way to 6, 7 show? Like, what?
I think the way that everything is set up right now, honestly, I think they have enough to, at minimum, get 5 seasons. Minimum.
Sure.
Now, should they go beyond that, that's not. I don't think that's something that we can answer like until
Right.
we see the episodes go on. But
Right.
like just based off of like what they have right now, ideas that come to mind for me, like they can get 3 more seasons out of this. At the well, they're already getting season 3, but after that, they can get 2 more seasons at the very least. I'm sure they can. Like maybe even more exposition through certain characters, or maybe
Right.
the addition of other cast members. Maybe somebody tries to come and take over the shop. Maybe there's competition, like another fine dining restaurant or whatever like that. Someone
It's
gets hurt.
interesting. It's interesting that you said 5 because my other favorite FX Hulu show, Mayans, was 5 seasons, and it really
That was the spinoff to Sons, right?
yes, spin off from Sons of Anarchy,
Okay.
and that 5 was really the right amount. I mean, I could have watched that show forever, but I think you're right that you could tell like the story that we started with really is Carmi and the crew around him. You could begin and end it with that. You could do 5 seasons. You have that nice little arc from season 1 to 5, and then you have a definitive ending, and you move on. But you can also do what some shows have done successfully is because there are fan favorites, because there are characters that are equally loved. That let's say Jeremy Allen White decides, yep, I'm going to do 4 or 5 seasons, and then I'm out to do other things. Someone like Io Edebiri, who plays Sydney,
Yeah.
could absolutely take over that show. Like you could have because you in so many ways it'd be easy to position some of these other characters as leads,
Yeah.
and they kind of already started doing that in season 2. So yeah, you could sort of pass that baton to other characters, and even if you got to let's say you got through to 7 or 8 seasons, maybe it ends with cousin Richie. Maybe he ends up taking over the thing. Like other characters, they grow, they get married, they move on, and the baton gets passed to someone like Richie or gets passed to Sydney. I could see that. I could see that working. I could also see them wanting to. We started here and with these folks. We're ending here with these folks. We're finishing with what we started with. But whatever they do, man, I'm in and I'm there for it.
Right. So far, all of the writing looks like it's the writing and the acting. Everything just looks locked in. Just as
Unbelievable.
long as no one tries anything stupid, then
Right.
I mean, if nobody decides to jump the shark, I think they can get at least 5 seasons out of this.
Yeah, and I don't think they will. It seems like the writing team, the network is letting them do what they want to do. FX is really good that way. I've only heard great things about people that have worked on FX shows, and the reason FX shows are so good is because they let the inmates run the asylum, and that just ends up, it ends up with good TV. It's why Marvel Studios crushes because it's the people who care about those characters and the source material that are writing those shows and writing those movies. I feel like it's good news for our industry that if you just let the people who do the thing just freely do it, you get bangers, man.
I mean, yeah, but that's a whole other conversation as far
Yeah,
as
no, Sure.
people letting people do their jobs and not letting them do their jobs. So that's a whole other
Well, it
fucking
feels like, at least it feels like
bag.
with this shows one of those examples where it feels like that the folks that are in charge are being allowed to flex their particular vision. It really feels that way. So we'll just be content with that. But man,
Mm.
thank you for spending time and watching the show and chopping it up with me today. Because you of all people, I'm just like, I've got to get Shavar to watch this show. It's again, it's such a gem. I'm
Thank you
glad
for
you
putting
dug
me
it.
on with it. It's definitely been worth it so far. It's definitely been worth it. I will be watching season 3
Oh
and
yeah,
subsequent seasons. They like I think they're gonna do it, but you never know, man.
yeah.
For reasons like with Boss, which again I will tell you later why
Sure.
that
Yeah, no,
or
I'd love to know, but
the rumors of like why that got cut.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm confident in the Bear. I'm confident in FX and Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, man, thanks for coming on, and thank you all for watching. If you guys have thoughts about the Bear, the characters, where do you think it's going for season 3 and beyond? What did we miss? Are there other Chicago gems out there? Other shows we should talk about? I'd love to review The Shy at some point, but please comment below. Please like, please subscribe, and we will catch you all next time.